Hello, everyone. I'm North Hempstead Town Supervisor Judy Bosworth. Councilmember Viviana Russell and I would like to thank you for watching this video from our public meeting discussing the United States EPA Brownfields program. This video will provide you with insight into what transpired at the meeting, as well as proposed plans for this exciting project. This is undoubtedly an exciting opportunity for us to continue the Newcastle Renaissance. Our shared goal is to continue to revitalize and beautify undeveloped and underutilized properties, while also focusing our efforts on generating economic activity and increasing housing opportunities. Reimagining the community is something that cannot be done in a vacuum. We certainly need the input of the people who live there, as you know Newcastle best. Thank you again for tuning in and for your interest in this project. Please don't forget to provide us with your feedback at northhempstead.ny.gov/Newcastle-2021. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is the first step in a series of many ways for you to participate in the Newcastle Renaissance. Tonight's presentation, along with the community online survey, will be available for public input until July 2nd. And there will be other opportunities for you to participate that I will discuss later on. As we go through this evening, we ask that you do not be shy and please lend your voice. Your input and feedback will help guide current and future work in the Newcastle community. Translators will be available to assist in Spanish and Haitian Creole. If you would like to follow along with the live presentation, you can scan the QR code on the screen and it will take you to the presentation in all three languages. As part of our team this evening, we have AKRF, a Long Island and city-based environmental consulting and community planning firm that has been involved with the Newcastle revitalization efforts all the way back to the design charrette of 2002, when the initial vision plan was developed. The AKRF team is led by Stephen Holly, and Stephen has remained an active and vital part of our various Newcastle initiatives over the past 20 years, with either community input updates, such as the meeting tonight, including the online survey, and through property assessment tasks. Stephen is joined this evening by other members of his AKRF team, Deborah Shapiro and Amy Jordan, as well as sub-consultants Vanessa Pugh and Sharon Mullen, who have been involved in Newcastle's revitalization for many years. The consultant team will be helping with the presentation and facilitation of the discussion groups. Also presenting are Rosemary Olson from the town's Community Development Agency, Bishop Lionel Harvey, a member of the steering committee from the First Baptist Cathedral of Westbury, and Neil Stone from the town's planning department. I'd like to take a moment to thank the entire steering committee who have helped on this project to date. Tracy Keynes from the North Hempstead Housing Authority and Community Connections of Long Island, Carolina Guardado, Hispanic United Association of Westbury, Mike Jackson, Bunkie Reed All-Stars, Sol Marie Alfonso Jones from the Long Island Community Foundation, Kenneth Little, former library board member and community member, Mika Rose, local business owner who owns My Home Favorites here on Prospect Avenue, Pablo Sinclair, Westbury Hills Civic Association, and Biggie Sylvain, Community Liaison for the Westbury School District. Thank you to our community language helpers who will be assisting in the discussion groups this evening. And thank you to everyone who has taken time to join this evening. With that, I'll turn it over to Steve Holly from our AKFR team to begin tonight's presentation.
So a little while back, the Environmental Protection Agency awarded Newcastle a grant to continue its ongoing revitalization work in Newcastle. Now, this is not the first grant that was awarded to Newcastle. In fact, going all the way back to the late 1990s, New York State and the federal government helped with funding the original Newcastle Vision Plan in 2002 and the Vision Plan update in 2012. These initiatives helped to guide nearly all of the improvements that we've seen in our neighborhood over the past 20 years, in which we'll talk about more later in the presentation. This project is a continuation of the work that has already been done and is another check-in where public input shapes the direction and the priorities that vacant or underdeveloped properties get addressed over the next few years. Through this process, the town and the Community Development Agency are guided directly by the thoughts, the ideas, concerns, and the input of constituents to improve sites with known or perceived contamination and make them better to improve neighborhood quality of life. Although redevelopment often takes time and requires more money, the input from this meeting and the surveys provide a roadmap for many months of work to come. Next slide, please. So overall, the grant goals and objectives see that the town's general goals for the grant are to revitalize undeveloped and underutilized property, generate economic activity through redevelopment, create new housing opportunities, improve public health and safety and facilities, and foster community beautification and connectivity. Thanks. Next slide. The town is using this EPA grant funding to review existing redevelopment strategies, engage the community in this project, work with the CDA to advance community goals, select and prioritize parcels for further study, and conduct environmental and feasibility studies for the parcels. So tonight, what we're doing, or under this project overall, is focusing on some specific sites in our neighborhood, looking at possible new uses and prioritizing the ones that we feel are more important to address first. And so the project area covers both the area north of the Long Island Railroad main line and the industrial area to the south. Although there are a lot of potential sites that can be addressed that are in the industrial area, what we want to do is we want to focus with our residents and overall with the community input on the residential area to the north, because this is what affects the quality of life for the residential area. So with that, I'm going to move things over to Bishop Harvey to talk about a little bit of the background of the revitalization in Newcastle.
As I said in the paper today, it started with May Newberger, and then John Kamen, and now Judy Bosworth, and all of those that worked and gave their time, their talent, and their treasure. Town Community Development Agency, the CDA, the Housing Authority, Business and Tourism Development Corporation, BTDC, Nassau County Public Works, the Housing, Planning, and Economic Development, Open Space Bond Act, the New York State Department of Transportation, the DOT, Environmental Conservation, DEC, and State DOS, Empire State Development Corporation, federal agencies, Housing and Urban Development, HUD, the Federal Highway Administration, Environmental Protection Agencies. So all of these things took place, everybody came together, and that brings us to where we are right now. Thank you so very much.
Good evening. I am Rosemary Olson. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments we've had over the last 20 years. Newcastle revitalization actually started over 35 years ago when the Community Development Agency conducted a blight study, an urban renewal plan, and started acquiring property. But it's with a shared vision for Newcastle, working with community organizations and community-based organizations, that the town and the CDA were able to put together a comprehensive plan for redevelopment. The vision plan and the vision plan updates have provided the town and the Community Development Agency action items that we use every day to advance the revitalization of Newcastle. Having that community-driven vision plan has helped us attract grant funding that makes this revitalization possible. Next slide. For the past 20 years, the Town and Community Development Agency have implemented the vision plan for Newcastle. The Brownfield demonstration pilot has helped attract over $100 million in both private and public investment in Newcastle. On Prospect Avenue alone, we had 8 development sites, 148 residential units. In the area, we've developed about 50 home ownership units and close to 60,000 square feet of commercial space. Next slide. Here are some photos of some of the buildings that were built on Prospect Avenue in various stages of development. Most of these were during development. A lot of them are, they're all occupied now. And it was developed with a mix of uses, including that commercial space. Business and economic development activities included attracting the Ideal Supermarket, My Home Favorites grocery store, Prospect Seafood and Chicken restaurants, Newcastle Pharmacy, 2 different dental offices, and other retail and service businesses that serve the community. These businesses are primarily minority and women-owned businesses, and they include business owners from the community. Next paragraph, next slide. One of the most recent projects is the development of the Homestead. North Hempstead Housing Authority was able to create affordable housing in a place that was had been a school and served the community, and so the property is going to continue to serve the community. The development project also includes some additional parking for the Yes We Can Community Center to make it more accessible to the community. Next slide. In Newcastle, around 300 homes were built, affordable at various household incomes, including some market rate units. And in addition, we sold 50 homes to first-time home buyers. The picture here that we're showing is Cathedral Place, where we took and combined some properties and were able to attract a great developer, Conifer, who developed Cathedral Place, along with Community Development Corporation of Long Island, a community-based organization. Next slide. And of course, one of the top development projects in Newcastle, which not only serves the Newcastle community, but has recently has served the entire Nassau County community, the LEED Platinum certified Yes We Can Community Center. This is a great asset to the community, not only Newcastle, but the whole town of North Hempstead benefits from the Yes We Can Community Center. And it's run by a great team providing services to the community, and it's just beautiful. Next slide. As part of the redevelopment, 3 separate new pocket parks were developed. This is one of them, the Swamp Street Park. Here, local students actually helped create the mosaic art as part of the Arts Build Newcastle project. Next slide. One of the large projects developed was the reconstruction of Prospect Avenue. Not only was the road reconstructed, but streetscaping was put in place, including crosswalks, sidewalks, lighting, and benches to make the Prospect Avenue more friendly and attractive for pedestrians, bus riders, and bicyclists. And this helped create a real downtown feel to Newcastle. This is a picture of it under construction. Next slide. This is a picture that actually shows some of the improvements today. And this is the Rose Ribbon Park, one of the 3 pocket parks, which also includes parking. The Rose Ribbon Park also has the kiosk, bike racks and benches to help keep the parking lot in the park and that area pedestrian friendly. Next slide. So the Bunkie Reed Park, the town has been working over the years in updating Bunkie Reed, and I know they have more plans for that. It's a great connection to the Yes We Can Community Center, and it continues to be updated as we make progress. Next slide. The Long Island Railroad third track project included eliminated grade crossings at both Urban Avenue and School Street, reducing noise, congestion, improving access to Old Country Road for cars. It's also it's safer for pedestrians and really creates a connection for Newcastle to the rest of the community through Urban Avenue. Next slide. And then this is the third pocket park, Gateway Park, which was improved by the students in Newcastle with the Art Build Newcastle program. They did some painting and mural projects, including this mosaic, which was designed as part of the Arts Build Newcastle project. And the town has recently adopted a cultural arts master plan with plans to continue encouraging community arts and culture in the Newcastle community. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you, Rosemary. And so we can see what 20 years or so of concerted effort and following a vision plan and updating that vision plan and continuing the conversation can do for our neighborhood. And this is really what we're looking at as a next step. So what we have here tonight is we have 11 sites that we're looking at today that have the opportunity to become places like any of those sites that Rosemary just presented, and all of which she's presented have been redeveloped. And so, as I had mentioned earlier in the presentation, most of these are situated in the residential area of Newcastle. There is one that we have in play that's in the industrial area. And this is not an exclusive list. We are going to be discussing in our breakouts that if there are other sites that you either know of, are concerned about, or would like to see added, that we're going to discuss that as well. But I do want to say that in guiding the discussion, vacant sites often are the ones that have the greatest opportunities for brand new uses. And so there's a number of vacant sites in this mix. But sometimes developed sites can also be helped along by maybe considering how to fill vacant storefronts with longer term anchor tenants. And that can also be a development tool. And sometimes sites are considered for reuse or redevelopment, but they kind of have an obvious general predetermination. And I want to draw your attention on this map to the one industrial site, which is site 10, south of the Long Island Railroad. That would probably never be developed as anything other than, an off-site parking use or something that would be a residential use. And so it's in the mix. However, there are several other sites to really focus on. The other one is site 7, the Catherine Street parcel, right up against the Wantagh State Parkway. And that one is currently undeveloped, but it's at the end of a dead-end residential street. And so that one would probably not be developed as anything other than residential as well. But we're going to scroll quickly through all 11 sites, and then we're going to dive into breakout groups, and we're going to discuss in facilitated breakouts what our ideas are and what the priorities might be for putting these sites in order of developability based on your thoughts. So site one is the Old Haitian Deli, which the town owns and is adjacent to a vacant lot. It's on the south side of Prospect Avenue. And most of you are familiar with the location and with the site. And so this is one for consideration in play. Next slide, please. Okay, and further up Prospect Avenue to the east on the north side is a smaller lot that currently does have a structure on it, and it's a structure with shared businesses. And the China King restaurant on the corner, it's possibly a site that more could be done with, and so it's in play for brainstorming and ideas. Next slide. Site number 3 is the entire block of 881 to 893, and right on the edge of the right-hand side of the photograph is actually the Swam Street Pocket Park. So keep that one in mind. Next slide. This is one of our larger parcels that currently is not developed, and that's down by the LIRR main line and abuts the Wantagh State Parkway. And we call it the Water District parcel because it's actually a number of parcels that are all put together, a couple of which are currently owned by the Community Development Agency. So that one is in play for consideration as well. It's at the end of Broadway in the southeast corner of the residential area. Next slide. Now this site is actually one that's on sort of like one of the main corridor, Brush Hollow, Union Avenue, and it's currently in an industrial use, but it certainly has potential to be rethought in terms of what could we do on a site such as this in the future, whether it be a few years out or whether it's 3 or 4 years out. But again, it's in play because there isn't a lot of building structural material that is already currently on that site. Next slide. And not far away from that one, you'll probably note this one. It's also just off of Union and just inside the residential area at Roman and Covert. Next slide. This was the Catherine Street parcel that I mentioned to you earlier, that if something was to be done, it would be a small scale residential redevelopment. And so we're not really thinking of, thinking way outside of the box on this one. It would probably, be a foregone conclusion that it would be low density residential. So we'll set that one aside. Next slide. This is what I was speaking about in terms of perhaps considering different business uses or maybe mixed use on the site, or maybe a stronger anchor tenant for a commercial use that you feel that we still don't have present in the neighborhood in Newcastle. So this is in play for a little bit of brainstorming as well. Next slide. And just further down is the commercial strip, which is very close by as well. This is the site that I was talking about that is south of the tracks, and that is on Main Street. we're considering this over the medium term for a potential off-street parking use to supplement the parking need that's currently been identified by owners of businesses in the industrial area. And so I think for tonight, we can set that one aside for brainstorming, focus on the other 9. And then finally, this is the old Nassau County DPW vehicle facility, which is up near Brush Hollow Road, near the Wantagh. And I think most of you are familiar with the location. It's next to North Hempstead Highway Yard, and it has a water sump or a recharge basin that's behind it. But it is one of our larger sites that we're considering that's in play. And so we'd invite ideas and some brainstorming about what that site can become as well. So when you go into your breakout rooms, be innovative in terms of whether you feel that you might want to see more recreation on a particular park space site, or mixed uses with residences and apartments upstairs or shops at street level. What types of businesses do we still need in the neighborhood, and where would they best be situated? Is there any interest in something like artist live workspace, where affordable living space is upstairs and studio space is at street level? Perhaps a permanent green market space for spring, summer, autumn use. Maybe something around the American Legion, such as a new outdoor space or a Veterans Memorial Plaza at the park space. Is there some form of potentially like a new daycare or something like that to be considered, as it was talked about in the previous community visionings? Transitional housing or supportive housing, and what location might that best be situated in? And so these are all on the table in terms of ideas and uses. And so we're going to move into a discussion phase for the meeting tonight. And I'm going to turn that over to Steve Hawley to facilitate and give some direction as to where we're going to go and garner some of that input. Thanks very much.